up in her. Ready to get the good storytelling one. Storytelling. What's good for storytelling? Nobody's in here. Is this the storytelling one? This one ain't bad. Ooh, creepy kinda. Alright. I guess I can dig this one for storytelling. Yeah, we'll go with that for now. Oh, it makes my face look horrible though. Damn. Let me try something else. Documentary. How's that? Documentary is pretty cool. Oh, what's sepia? Sepia? Then, all of a sudden, the silver screen. That's black and white. Haunt. Ooh. And then, my friends. Sketch. Whoa, that's trippy. That's way too trippy. Either sepia or documentary. Does documentary have color? I don't know. 8mm. Glamour. Whoa, this one's like trippy, bro. Like, he got concussed, and by the time he could barely awaken. Yo, I don't know. Is this a good one, or should I go with this? Is this one too weird? Or what about documentary? Documentary. I don't know. That might be cool. Documentary's dope. I'm going with documentary. Unless somebody... First, is it Kashaya? Kashaya Mac. Kashaya Mac. I got your back. Hello, Garden of Eden. Like the name. Love the name, actually. Telling some stories here, people. I got 5 short stories. We're going to chop it up. 5 short stories. Then I got 1 crazy long format story that I'll probably end up making into a real story on my channel. But yeah, I just second time ever going live. Keisha Mac. What's good? Hi, how are you? Should have a couple other people coming in here soon. Just drop the link in my Discord. 5 stories. Yes, Beth. 5 stories is correct. Well, 6. I got 5 short stories. And then I got 1 main story that I might end up, I've had it for like 4 months and I haven't done it. So I might end up turning it into a fully production-wise story as well. But I'm also here to talk, see how people are doing. I mean, I'm pretty pissed, but I'll tell you why I'm pissed later. But just been having one of those days. Beth, I got backup channels, right? Like my True Crime Aftershock that I just put True Crime on. I don't know if you know I had that one. And then I also have Mr. Ballin's Apprentice, which used to be Budget Ballin', but then a lot of people are like, oh, you're good. Like, why do you call yourself Budget? Don't demean yourself. All these things. And I was like, okay. And then Mr. Ballin subscribed. So I was like, all right, I'm going to change it to Mr. Ballin's Apprentice. That's what I'm going to do. And this is actually why I'm pissed today. Because I put up a video yesterday. It's doing great. It's already at like 1.5 thousand views, which my main channel never even gets, that has 10 times the amount of subs, whatever. But I got people in the comments saying, do you know John personally? Did he say you could do this? For one, yes, he subscribed and commented, but people won't even read. They won't even read the about section, which all I have is yes and no when it comes to about John in the name, and they won't read the description. So I'm like, all right, I'm just going to change the name. I'm so sick of people every day. It's like, Mr. Ballin's Apprentice. Did he say you could be his apprentice? I'm like, well, I've asked him like 100 times. He's never got back to me. He subscribed though and commented, so I guess it's okay. But whatever. It's just annoying when you can't let comments get to you, right? But they do. Anybody that's telling you different, they either don't look at comments or they're lying to you. After a bunch of time, it starts to get to you. So I dropped a, community tab saying, hey, all right, fine, y'all win. What do you want the channel to be called? And then I put up like 5 of my ideas that I already had. But I thought it was smart as a backup channel to have Ballin's name in it and then to funnel people to this channel. And that's what I was doing. So the same people that say, oh, like you shouldn't have Mr. Ballin's name in it, whatever. Would they have even watched? Would they have even seen that channel and clicked on it if it didn't have Mr. Ballin's name in it? That's what I'm wondering. So I'm going to change it for the fans. And then we'll see if it keeps going, great. If it stops building, I'm gonna change it back to Mr. Ball's Apprentice just to keep pissing people off. But this is my main channel, Mystery Files. And oh, we got David Lancaster in here. Coolness does prevail. You'll tell Kathleen, cool. I also dropped in Discord. Hopefully those people see it. But yeah, it's going to be up to you guys. We can chop it up now, later. Also, do you want the 5 short stories first? Or, and literally, like, these are Reddit stories, the 5 short stories. So, do you want those stories first? Or do you want the one main story first? Like, in fact, I think I can put up a poll. Hold up. I'm pretty sure I can put up a poll. Let me check. What does this do? Highlight save to your channel. I didn't mean to do that. I just saved something. I didn't even mean to save it. 5 shorts now. That's all right. That's her vote. Oh wait, I see a bunch of stuff down here. This is, I guarantee you. Start a poll. Here we go. It won't let me tap on it. Cool, man. Coolness prevails. I'd have to exit out of my teleprompter. Huh. Do I want to do that? No, I don't want to do that. I don't care what order they come in. I'm easy to get along with. I like that. I really like that. Keisha. Keisha, right? Keisha. It's a cool name. Keisha in the building. All right, so 5 stories. We'll just go with Beth. Beth said 5 stories. She said 5 shorts now, so we're going to go with what Beth wants. I mean, Beth, yeah, and we're about 5 minutes in this, so we're going to go with Beth. All right, this first one, and by the way, I don't know how many of you ever go on Reddit, but it's like, I try to post my videos on there. It's almost impossible because channels like this, No Sleep, that's where r/no sleep, that's where a lot of scary stuff comes from, but they don't allow you to post videos. But this one is from No Sleep, and it's called The Changeling Child. Now, just to remind you guys, I have not read these 5 short. I wrote the main story, but I have not read these 5 short stories yet. I literally just copied off it. So if they suck, I'm sorry, but we're gonna go in for it anyway. Let me get this right. Okay. Damn, it's actually a little long for a short story. All right. From the moment we brought little Lily home from the hospital, my wife Maggie and I always felt something, was off. Just a little bit off about her. She never cried like a normal baby, stared at us in this kind of unsettling silence always. And there was just this way about her. And taking everything with those big observant eyes, and as the months passed, we tried, shrugging it off, sorry, I can barely talk, as new parents, just thinking it's our parental anxieties, until her behavior became too disturbing to finally ignore. Now, Lily never crawled or babbled like any other infants her age. She remained completely mute, having never uttered a single sound despite clear health and hearing. Despite clear health and hearing. Okay, so she never uttered a sound. Sometimes we'd find her in the middle of the night, awake and motionless in her crib, that penetrating gaze fixated on us as we slept. The pediatrician assured us that it was just a speech delay, but deep down, a sickening thought gnawed at me. What if the real Lily had been swapped for this changeling creature while we weren't looking? Whoa, looks like we got some crazy parents here, a crazy story. Okay, so I started compulsively reading about this ancient folklore, my mind spiraling into realms of sinister fairy swaps and malevolent tricksters. Maggie and I began sleeping with crucifixes and iron nails under our pillows on the advice of a demented internet truther. Soon we became imprisoned by paranoia in our own home, jumping at every creak and gripping by the panic of Lily as she waddled down her dark little room alone. Now, the breaking point came when I awoke one night to Lily, standing there, silent as a statue, inches from my face. I'll never forget those cold, dead eyes drilling directly into my skull from the murky shadows. Something unnatural, dwelling behind that seemingly innocent child. And in a blind, terrified outburst, I lashed out to strike her, but Maggie grabbed my arm at the last second. Lily remained unflinching. She didn't flinch at all. And I broke down in howling sobs of shame and regret for almost hitting her. But that harrowing night, we made an impossible, heartbreaking decision to admit our daughter to an inpatient psychiatric institution for her behavior. And her behavior progressed to some semblance of human normalcy. Sorry. Until her behavior progressed to some semblance of human normalcy that we could recognize. We visited her every week, and she's showing these slow signs of improvement with intense therapy. But I'll never unsee that piercingly wordless ancient stare, and can't shake the feeling that whatever haunted our family home hasn't left us entirely, at least not yet. All right, so that's story one. It's St. Patty's Day, bro. You're supposed to wear green, not to turn green. You busted my balls. Yeah, I know. Midnight Mafia symbol. Let's go. Yeah, I would wear green, but I didn't know if I still might do the second half of this downstairs. And I always think I can't wear green because I have a green screen. So, like, I always just think, don't wear green, don't wear green. But, all right. That was story number one. Fun little intro. Okay. Now we're going to go for number two. This is also the second and last one from No Sleep. It's called Final Girl. All right. You know that classic, like, slasher trope, the lone, innocent leprechaun cosplay? Sorry, I saw that. Yeah, let's do some leprechaun cosplay. I'm down, but you won't be able to, or you'd only be able to see me. No, that's not fair. Okay, you know that classic slasher trope, that lone, innocent teenage girl miraculously outlasting and defeating the deranged killer in the final act? Well, in my case, I truly actually embodied that role. I mean, if not for the grisly cost of being the only surviving member of my dearest friend group, you see, we were spending a long weekend camping in the isolated mountain wilderness, and 5 inseparable youths thumbing our noses at authority by indulging in all the debauchery expected from neglected suburban teenagers. Now, the first few nights passed in kind of a drunken delirium stupor by a crackling fire. That was until we noticed a strange looming silhouette glaring at us in the distant tree line each evening as darkness fell. At first, we dismissed it as some tweaked out hiker or that shaggy forest creature, whatever it's called. But on the third night, the shadow brought directly over our campsite, and it started rustling and shaking in unnatural ways, startling us basically sober as freshly severed deer limbs came raining down into our midst. And we scattered in a panic, sprinting for the forest edge and refuge for our car. But Marshall, our most courageous friend, stayed behind to investigate like a moron. Now, he waited for what felt like hours, petrified each time the slightest noise cracked through the blue-black woodland silence. When Marshall finally emerged from the shadows, wandering in a stupor across the campsite, he looked like he had aged over 100 years. Craggy and hunched over, his youthful features withered away, leaving cadaverous gray skin hanging off his bone. He collapsed into a pile of dust that became instant. Jeez. Our screams of abject horror were immediately muffled by the sound of choral laughter, deep gurgling chuckles, a dozen eerie overlapping tones echoing straight out of the pits of hell themselves. We ran then, deeper into the shrouded forest, chased by the sounds of snapping branches and heavy padded footsteps smashing through the underground in pursuit. Now, I don't know what plane of consciousness I passed through over those next eternal hours of being hunted, exhausted, and freezing in this judgmental eyes of the moon itself. My friend's agonized shrieks sliced through the black curtain one by one, until I was the sole staggering figure left in this abandoned wilderness, a sole survivor, listening to maddening laughter at every panic turn through the endless looping trails. And at some point, the laughter stopped, replaced by a ferocious, rabid panting that seemed to be hounding, snarling up at my heels. No matter which direction I ran, it was there. And surely moments from just joining my friends in whatever fresh hell they had been dragged in, I felt like it was about to be me with them, entrapped in this Stygian labyrinth for eternity. That's when the distant break of dawn crept over the canopy, chasing the shadows into retreat and revealing I'd been fleeing around the same quarter-mile loop of trail for the entire night. Now, to this day, I don't know what eldritch force haunted our fateful camping trip or what happened to my friends' remains at all. None of them were ever found. But I still have visceral night terrors of that sinister, multi-tone laughter pursuing me through that void. Sometimes I hear the old familiar snapping of branches in my window when the wind blows in a certain way on a certain night. But I know the only monsters left were the ones carved into my very sanity on those endless moonlit paths. Damn. Wow. Okay. That's either made up or she went through some crazy stuff, and it's true, or they weren't just drinking and they were hallucinating big time. Damn, that one was pretty crazy. I'll give it, okay. Small clap for no sleep. That was pretty good. All right, the next one is from our Paranormal Reddit, and it's called The Spider Bedroom. Spider Bedroom, okay. Let's see if this, all right. As a kid, I dreaded the nights when my grandparents sent me to the musty spare bedroom at the back of their foreboding farmhouse. Right? From the squeaky old bed frame to the water-stained wallpaper constantly wavering in the shadows, everything about that claustrophobic shoebox space exuded a menacing aura. I mean, what was worse was the chronic sensation that unseen eyes were watching my every move from the corners of that dim, cobwebbed enclosure. Now, most unnerving were the spiders. Not just a few measly specimens, but an entire population living within the room's crumbling infrastructure. They would emerge each evening in droves from the electrical sockets, the door frames, and molten window jambs, spreading their spindly black legs and bulbous bodies across every surface within their reach as if their private domain I was trespassing upon. First, it would start with stragglers, a stray loner rappelling down from the jaundiced popcorn ceiling to graze my forearm while I stared up in horror. Then a sudden skittering wave underfoot as dozens flooded across the floorboards on invisible signals to surround my trembling cot for their nightly ritual. Damn, is this Shakespeare writing this? By midnight, there would easily be 100 of them dragging their slick, ovoid forms over my blankets and pillows, narrowly evading being crushed each time I thrashed in petrified wakefulness. Most would scatter to awaiting crevices when daylight broke, leaving behind only the flickering shapes burned into my retinas and recurring daylights of being slowly consumed by their ebon, bristly swarm. My grandparents wrote it all off as adolescent exaggeration, convinced this had been their seasonal pest problems stretching back decades. But by my teenage years, my transformation had already hardwired. That sick, recessed childhood phobia of our multi-legged cohabitants never dissipated, no matter how many therapists that I saw. And even now, I perform daily rituals of shaking out any clothes or my shoes left overnight, unable to shake that visceral dread of a remnant colony that has decided to take up residence inside them. Every time my phone buzzes with an unexpected notification late at night, I can still feel their phantasmal pinpricks skittering across my exposed skin. And if I stare too long at the ceiling, those same dormant flashes of midnight horror plays like clockwork, nature reels through my synapses. Their diaphanous bodies will always lurk just at the peripheral of my sanity's dilapidated edges, waiting for me to let down my guard and entangle me in that gnawing, arachnophobic destiny once more. The Spider-Man. Okay. All right, then. Heather, you have a good live vibe, dude. I appreciate that, Heather. Let's go. And Beth, you're right. The last story, they were definitely on shrooms. This girl, whoever wrote this, I think they studied Shakespeare too much and a bunch of older people that wrote really good. And they just tried to literally have a visceral writing experiment. That's what I think that was. I think that one was in no shape, form, or way real. Okay. Let's take a what do you guys think so far? Crazy, stupid, what? Mike is good at this. Thank you, David. My man. I think these are a little silly, but we'll keep going. All right, this one is called The Lake Lurker, and it's from Reddit, Let's Not Meet. Okay. Has a nice title, right? It could be something. Let's see. All right. Oh, let me turn this down. Sorry if you guys hear dogs in the background. That's my neighbor's dogs. All right. The Lake Lurker. In the blistering summer of 2005, my friends and I claimed the desolate fishing lake at the outskirts of town as our private all-night kickback spot. Forsaken by the poorly funded parks department, the rural reservoir waters pooled in a shimmery, deathly green sheen, bordered by clusters of gnarled cattail thickets, shielding any number of slithering creatures from view. In short, not the most inviting aquatic oasis, but absolutely perfect for reckless teenage debauchery away from prying eyes. And most nights, played out in that same kind of mind-numbing cycle of drinking, skinny dipping dares, quickly devolving into soft-core orgies. Whoops. Then maybe should have read this one. Then passing out in damp tangles on the shoreline in fatigue and dehydration hit the inevitable crescendos. It was all innocently hedonistic until the night I nearly drowned in the terror while blacked out alone in the inky waters. I know, Beth, I'm sorry. I'd overdone the moonshine that particular evening, but still harbored a puerile impulse to show off and charge starkers into the dead of night, diving beneath the murky surface for as long as my lungs could withstand. And in my drunken hubris, I hadn't noticed the eerie absence of the croaks and buzzing that normally emanated from among that thick green fringy lake shores. And as I plunged into that opaque depths, something instantly gripped my ankle like a vice grip force, wrenching me back towards the surface before I had even a chance to gasp for air. My flailing arms broke the waterline as I tried to orientate in a panic, only to come face to faceless face with an apparition that still leaves me frozen with night terrors over 15 years. There, half submerged before me in the obsidian waters with just its torso exposed, was a humanoid, decaying creature inflated with putrid decomposition gases. It had no discernible facial features, just a gaping, lamprey-like maw agape as if prepared to regurgitate a torrent of swamp filth and dismemberment. Jeez. Most soul-rending were the visible lacerations distending from its abdomen, where pulsing masses of parasite larvae squirmed and thrashed behind torn tissue, sloughing off in murky strands. What are all these people, Shakespeare? Jeez. The bloated colossus seemed to take in the cowering form, treading water for just an instant, before lurching forwards to rake its talons across my face and my chest, parting its flesh in jagged ribbons. I can still taste the shambling horror's fetid, primordial death reek enveloping me as I opened my mouth to shriek in silent paralysis. That's when something yanked my leg backwards with extreme force, breaking my ankle in the process. I crashed out of this nightmare miasma, emerging on the opposite embankment shore where my friend Marcus had seized my ankle from his fishing spot after glimpsing the floundering shape in the darkness. His quick instincts undoubtedly spared me from suffering a far more gruesome fate at the aquatic abomination's beckoning clutches. Do I dare accept the explanation that my drunken overindulgence simply concocted a waking nightmare terror from repressed love creation phobias? Or is there a darker truth behind this grotesque, abysmal inhabitant lurking beneath the lake's placid facade, waiting to pull on hapless, wayward victims who wander too far from the path? All I can confirm is the scars slashed across my face and torso never quite healed properly. Their pocket exterior a permanent reminder that some mysterious should remain inaccessible to the curious mortal minds. You can always rely on Marcus. Damn, who dat? That was crazy. I love my hamster's bum hair. What? Me too. Me three. I'm sure someone else does too. Okay. That story was pretty... Yeah. Okay, we're going... Damn, already 26 minutes. We're going to move on to the last short, all right? It's called Home Intruders from Reddit. True Scary Stories. Bird. Shh. Thank you. Okay. So, hey, I need to confess something. I came way too close to unintentionally causing a horrible tragedy in my life last year. And the guilt, it still clings to me. It was a frigid February night, kind of like this one, when I came home from a late bartending shift. I was exhausted, but relieved to have had the night off from my roommate party animal antics. I just wanted to faceplant into my comforter and pass out in beautiful isolation. That's when I noticed the entryway ceiling light was on, despite me clearly being the last one home. My hometown recently had a rash of break-ins, so I instantly felt my adrenaline surge as my eyes darted around the room for any misplaced household objects or any disturbances at all. And at that moment, I'm 90% certain I spotted a very faint motion flick across my peripheral from down the hallway. Maybe just a coat swaying on the rack, but enough to send my heart rate into overdrive. Bird. With shaky breaths, I quietly slid the baseball bat from the umbrella stand and crept down the hallway towards the living room, each torturous inch heightening my dread. I rounded the final corner, cocked the bat back preemptively, and there she was. My roommate Emma, sitting alone on the sofa, staring straight ahead with her knees tucked to her chin and hands trembling. No lights on anywhere in the room except the glow of the TV playing some old black and white movie. In the darkness, her head tilted ever so slightly towards me, and her eyes followed soon after, wide, pleading, utterly terrified. Emma didn't even register my presence. She just kept staring into the shadows on the opposite side of the room, her face blanched in terror. That's when I followed her gaze to a figure looming in the corner behind her, a lurking silhouette simply standing there, motionless. So dread overcame me as I realized we had a nightmarish home intruder on our hands, likely armed and ready to pounce on Emma the moment that she flinched. So I carefully positioned my bat for the element of surprise when... "Don't you dare frickin' move!" Emma yelped in a quivering rasp, her eyes briefly flickering to me before snapping back towards the dark mass unwavering in the corner. "I'm calling the police as soon as I can." And it was in that moment reality had crashed down on me like a sledgehammer. Emma was hallucinating, and I had clearly wandered into a dangerous psychotic break episode. My bat raised for attack, complete silence in the room, except the static TV. God, if I didn't diffuse her paranoia in that split second, my poor friend could have ended up beaten within an inch of her life by myself. I shouted Emma's name repeatedly, slowly lowering the bat to ease in front of her and block the non-existent threat's image from the shine of the light. Her fearful eyes finally locked on me, brimming with tears, and as the hallucination seemed to shatter before her like a phantasmal fog lifting above, we held each other so tightly in heaving sobs of relief. But the experience left us both shaken for months. Emma had been harboring deep-seated past traumas that the spectral intrusion brought bursting to the fore. And I can never shake the guilt over how easily I could have inflicted devastating harm on her from simply not recognizing the signs. Mental illness is invisible, but sometimes its consequences feel all too real to the rest of us. Whoa, okay. That one was intense. Dogs and birds are atmospheric, no worries. All right, sounds good, sounds good. All right, we're already 30 minutes in, so I'm going to go to the main story. How about that? Cash me outside, how about that? Anybody remember that girl? All you got to do is act like an idiot on Dr. Phil, and then 5 years later, you'll be 100 millionaire. No worries, people. Do y'all like this, what's it called? Like this. Do you like the one I was at, or does it not matter? I don't even know the one I was at. I think I was at here. 8mm. That one's kind of weird. This one's like kind of trippy. I might use this one. Is this too trippy, or can I use this one? Somebody let me know. Yeah, David, no worry. I'll just talk for a minute. Jeez. I tell you, David Lancaster, can't live with him, can't live without him. Dude's in between live streams right now. It's like, but to be honest, I'd want to check out his live too. I guess this girl is literally tripping on psilocybin right now. I'd probably want to watch that. Yeah. And there he goes. Well, it's cold out here, so David can. I'll wait 1 minute for David, and then after that, I'm just gonna read it because I'm gonna leave this up so everybody can, like last time, rewatch it. Let's see what we got here. Oh, Philip Rooney in the house. Hello. Love Rachel and Philip from Dublin, Ireland. I love y'all too. I love all y'all comments. Please never stop commenting. You guys make me feel awesome. Let's see. Keisha, I didn't mean to just stop typing. My baby's grandma came in. I'm missing a lot. I'm definitely going to catch up later though. But I'm still here. No worries, Keisha. I appreciate you coming. Love Rachel and Philip. I love you guys too. From Ireland. I found out not that I always thought I was Irish. I always knew. I knew I was Irish. And guess what? I was right. I was Irish. Because my brother just got his genealogy test. I got my 23andMe thing literally right there that I'm going to do this month. And turns out we're Irish and Italian, which is weird, and German and Russian. But we're Irish. And I always knew that we were Irish. People gave me shit growing up, or SHIT crap. Can I say that on here? I don't know. People gave me crap growing up because I grew up south of Boston, so I'd wear, the Celtics hat tilted down and stuff. They'd be like, bro, like, are you? And I'm like, yeah, dude, I'm definitely Irish. I had no idea, but now I know that I am indeed part Irish. So I'd love to come up there, and I hope Conor McGregor becomes your president. No, that would be cool. We love you too. You're brilliant and funny. You're Irish. Well, we're hard people. Rachel in Philadelphia. I'd love to go to the bar with you. Head off to the pub. Maybe see McGregor. I don't know how to talk Irish, but I wish I knew how to talk Irish. That's the thing. Oh, what happened? Go back. There we go. All right. Let's see if David's not. I'm just going to start the main story. Screw it. Because it's very cold out where I'm. What's the weather like in Dublin right now? Is it cold? 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s? We do Fahrenheit here. I don't know if y'all do Celsius. Irish people sing pretty. That's true. I've noticed a lot of different cultures sing pretty. Like, what was I listening to the other day? Oh, it was Russian. It was from David's thing. I was like, damn, that Russian lady, two of them, they sing incredible. Like, y'all should check that out too. On David Lancaster, when he comes back, he just started putting up on his channel. He's like, he shreds on the guitar. He can jam out hard, but like he plays at the church. And it's like a Russian church, and these women sing while he jams out, and they can sing. Like, they could, like, I could only just imagine if they had some studio producer behind them. They'd be famous in a second. Like, just imagine the people that grab the old type Shure microphones and they just belt something out for 10 minutes straight, and it's incredible. And you're like, whoa, like, why don't you just like send that sample in? You know what I'm saying? Like, send that in somewhere, like Rockefeller, somewhere. I don't know. Death Row Records. Damn. Oh, David's back. All right, David. Been waiting for you. I'm going to start. David, you might have heard this story before. I don't know. But all I know is that I thought it was important because it's like the ultimate not cool. You know what I mean? It's this guy. Well, I'm not going to get too far ahead of myself, but you guys can tell me what you think at the end. You sound Scottish when you're trying to do an Irish accent. Love it. Yeah, I do English, Scottish, all those things, and sometimes I mix them up. Like, it's like I'll do something. Oh, what was that? Has anybody ever seen with Brad Pitt that movie Snatched? I think he was Irish, but he was like a what are they called? Like Gypsy Irish or something. And does anybody remember Brad Pitt from Snatch? I think it's called Snatch or Snatch. He talks like, oh, they don't understand what they're saying, so fuckers are obviously, like, you can't understand what he's saying. It's fucking beautiful. A Traveler, yes. Oh, yes, great film. Awesome. We got like-minded people here. I love this. Okay, well, that's why this story is important, just because you'll see at the end why it's important. But yeah, so we are going to go for a story that's called Innocence Betrayed, the Tragic Injustice of Richard Glossop. Now, I'd say if anybody has heard this, maybe David has. Maybe you know who Richard Glossop is. If not David, then I got one up on you. But I think you know who this is. Okay, I'm going to start. Let me just fix my teleprompter. It's going too fast. Hello, Kim. Glad you're here. See, the teleprompter, it's always going too fast or going too slow. There's never no party time. Haha, you're funny. Love this now. I love Philip and Rachel from Dublin. Don't they just leave the coolest freaking comments that motivate you? Party time. Excellent. Kim, let's go. All right, so here we go. Oklahoma City, 1997. That's where this is taking place. All right. The seedy neon glow of the Best Budget Inn sign should have been a safe harbor for travelers seeking I'm going to start over. I'm trying to get my teleprompter right, people. Okay. The seedy neon glow of the Best Budget Inn, I don't think I've ever been to one of those, sign should have been a safe harbor for travelers seeking affordable lodging that winter night. But it would soon become the backdrop of a brutal crime, shattering the motel's already fragile tranquility. Now, for 19-year-old Justin Sneed, S-N-E-E-D, the inn's maintenance man, the threat of his secret being exposed by owner Barry Van Treese was terrifying. Sneed, like so many troubled youths, had fallen into a cycle of petty crimes and drug use to cope with a volatile home life. Just days earlier, Van Treese had caught Sneed with illicit substances on the motel property, severely jeopardizing his employment as the owner considered his termination. So, in a foolish act of desperation, Sneed decided that he needed to strike first. He would take the outrageous step of confronting and eliminating Van Treese before the owner could turn him into the authorities. I'm just going to pause right here. Okay. Sorry, guys, just changing this. So basically, the owner was about to change him into the authorities. I'm going back to this one documentary. It's more movie-like. Okay. All right, so it was a poor judgment fueled by addictions and a fear of consequences that Sneed just couldn't accept. So as the evening shift began, Sneed was careful to bide his time until he could get Van Treese alone and away from any potential witnesses. Stealthily pulling a newly purchased aluminum bat from the motel's inventory, the anxious young man slipped unnoticed towards the owner's private quarters. Now, what played out next would forever shatter the complacent illusion of Sneed's dead end job. According to his later admissions to authorities, upon catching the 54-year-old Van Treese by surprise, Sneed just exploded into a frenzied beating, swinging the bat in a blinding, adrenaline-fueled rage. Blow after blow rained down, cracking open Van Treese's skull and sending him into a fatal collapse amongst splatters of blood. And in the aftermath's deafening silence, Sneed was paralyzed with shock, almost in a dissociative state. And from what he had just done, from what he had just committed, sheer violent impulse, he had acted upon this pent-up, deluded visions of self-preservation and sealed his fate as a confessed murderer. Now, police rushed to the Best Budget Inn after reports of screams from the alarmed motel guests that evening. Inside Van Treese's private quarters, they found him bloodied, bearing unmistakable evidence of barbaric bludgeoning trauma. The search for his killer fell rapidly upon the young maintenance man, whose presence at the scene raised immediate red flags. Now, and guys, this one takes a huge turn, so just check this out. As investigators intensely questioned Sneed over the following days, his story twisted and turned through a maze of inconsistencies and failed justifications. But ultimately, after being confronted with overwhelming physical evidence implicating him directly, the teenager cracked. Now, struck with mortal fear about potentially facing the death penalty if convicted, Sneed confessed to the grisly murder himself, but also shook authorities with this shocking twist. In exchange for taking capital punishment off of the table, he spun a story weaving his superior at the motel acting manager, Richard Glossop, into a violent plot. So according to Sneed's stunning allegations, it had been Glossop who had badgered and pressured the team to take desperate action against Van Treese, even supplying the fateful baseball bat. Now, Sneed painted a picture of falling under the toxic influence of his manager, who was Glossop, a manipulative father figure who exploited his insecurities. Now, uncorroborated, Sneed claimed Glossop controlled both of them through fear and intimidation, leaving the team no choice but to carry out the hit himself of the owner. Now, for his part, Glossop has vehemently and continually denied any involvement whatsoever in the homicide, branding Sneed's accusations of orchestrating the violence as clear acts of self-preservation to mitigate his own culpability. And from the start, manager has constantly asserted his innocence, insisting no conclusive evidence beyond Sneed's tainted testimony could be placed. And that was true. Sneed's tainted statements have never materialized to place him at the crime scene or prove anything beyond presence during at that time of attack. So no, basically all at this time in the story, all you have is Sneed's story saying that, yep, Glossop was the mastermind. But despite this insistence of no corroborating evidence, Sneed's salacious allegations threw the murder case into a maelstrom of legal chaos that would take decades to unravel, if at all. Now, for a time, it seemed his melodramatic testimony detailing threats and manipulation by Glossop could potentially result in dual death penalty cases. In essence, his shocking words had instantly turned things into a case of he said, primed to be debated endlessly before any court. Ultimately, to avoid the possibility of execution himself, like I said, Sneed made his best available decision by fully admitting to the physical act of bludgeoning Van Treese, but also by simultaneously implicating Glossop as the mastermind coercing his involvement. And the confessed killer ignored any evidence against self-implication in a gambit to simply secure a life sentence. Basically, that was his strategy. Now, from this singularity point burst a polarizing criminal case, one in which Sneed's unverified claims of coercion through intimidation by Glossip took on increasing weight despite his obvious incentive to fabricate this lie. Now, the intricate battle over differentiating victimhood versus culpability between the two men would spiral on for years across multiple trials, overturned convictions, and tidal waves of nationwide controversy focused on the ethics of capital punishment in informant plea deals. Now, for while Sneed's admission of murderous physical guilt was never refuted, thereby eliminating any doubt of his active role in the Van Treese death, the implications of his included allegations against Glossop took things down highly problematic trails. On one side, prosecutors vigorously argued that Sneed had knowingly turned his back on securing the most lenient sentencing possible by implicating Glossop in the killing's orchestration. And they postured that there was no logical incentive for the teenager to invent the tales of being led astray by his manager unless some version of the inflammatory claims were rooted in truth. Those are the two sides you have. But Glossop's legal defense took on a very different angle of dismantling the legitimacy of Sneed's accusations. They characterized the maintenance man as a career criminal, a drug addict, and a proven liar, adept at manipulating whatever story could most benefit his inevitable quest to avoid the death chamber. Now, in this counter-narrative portrayed, Sneed's claims were depicted as too neat, too ideally crafted to deflect as much blame as possible onto an innocent party in exchange for leniency from prosecutors. Okay, for in addition to insisting he was outright lying, the defense called into question the very nature of the allegations themselves. How could a manager who was only Sneed's subordinate workmate yield enough perceived power to override his basic morals or threaten his livelihood to the point of committing calculated murder? Now, the implied motives for Glossop to mastermind such an extreme plan were riddled with flaws and seemed to defy reasonable logic itself. But Sneed did not back down from his explosive claims. Perhaps fearful of losing his negotiated life sentence if he recanted further, a rift was solidifying between defendants, with Sneed clinging to his testimony about being led astray for survival, and Glossop wholly rejecting any such accountability for Van Treese's slaying beyond being caught up in the orbit of tragedy, basically just working there. The case's lightning rod for controversy intensified all the more when Sneed's own daughter, in a series of letters and media interviews, appeared to corroborate Glossop's persistent innocence claims. Yes, she asserted her father, Sneed, had privately expressed regrets about falsely implicating the manager in a desperate bid to secure his plea and evade the death penalty. Kinda obvious, but now there's proof. Now, the letters contended that members of Sneed's family had even been denied attempts to present exculpatory evidence on Glossop's behalf. So basically, if you haven't got it this far, the whole legal system has it out for Glossop for what? It's almost like an inside job setup, but it was as if reality was shifting on his axiom in the darkest of cases. Now, was the truth really that Glossop had exploited his influence and orchestrated this cold-blooded execution of his boss? Or was the greater injustice Sneed successfully fabricating a narrative to drag an innocent manager under the proverbial bus while doing whatever possible to secure leniency for his own heinous act? I'll let you guys think on that for a second. But these purgatorial questions defined the battle waged over the legitimacy of Sneed's implicating testimony. It saw Glossop ushered on and off death row for over a series of overturned convictions and split opinion rulings from the higher Oklahoma Court of Appeals. All the while, Sneed continued to sit in prison after having taken the prosecution's deal while making increasingly conflicting statements that seemed to undermine his own credibility. Now, though celebrity activists like Sister Helen Prigene pushed doggedly for federal intervention to overturn what they saw as Glossop's obvious wrongful conviction on flimsy informant testimony, their advocacy ultimately fell short when the Oklahoma Pardon and Parole Board voted to deny him clemency by a 3-2 margin. Just needed one more vote. And this was just days prior to his scheduled 2016 execution date. So for one, tell me how it makes sense that the person that actually killed someone gets life in jail, and that person says, oh, there was a mastermind, it was him. And that person, in this case, Sneed or Glossop, supposedly gets the death penalty? How does that even make sense? But like I said, 3-2 margin just days prior to his 2016 execution date. And up until the bitter end, the reverberations of Sneed's role dominated national debates around the ethics of using incentivized testimonies, the fairness of the death penalty implementation, and the fragility of prosecutorial cases hinging on unverified confession evidence alone. So, in a stunning, almost karmic twist in the final stretch before the execution could be carried out, Sneed suddenly released an open letter seeming to retract his previous claims about Glossop's involvement. Who would have thought? Though stopping short of fully absolving the manager, Sneed now characterized his relationship to him as being one of a mutual friendship. Sorry guys, it's windy. Undercutting the insinuation that manipulation or threats had motivated the murder. Most damaging, Sneed even seemed to relish having committed Van Treese's slaying, calling it a little fun for himself, independent of corroborating any mastermind. But was this reversal prompted by pangs of conscience at the 11th hour from Sneed, or a desperate, disorganized attempt to spare Glossop's life by destabilizing his own previous sworn testimony? Regardless of the motive, courts were unmoved by the sudden shift. The legal system had already scrutinized every word and dissected every potential angle of the teenager's unwavering admissions over the course of 2 decades. Now, I'm going to take you to May of 2023, just last year. And the number one thing everybody should take away from this case is Richard Glossop has basically been called innocent many times from many different sources, including legal systems, but yet they will not let him out of jail. Multiple times now, he's been on death row now, 9 to be exact. And even in 3 of them, he has ate his final meal. And then right before lethal injection, he has got a stay of execution and has been spared. Could you imagine the anxiety and what this man has been through, not to mention going through all that he has gone through? Just imagine one last meal, let alone 3, let alone 9 times walking Dead Man's Row. Okay, but like I said, May 2023, 2 weeks before he was scheduled to die at the Oklahoma State Penitentiary in McAllister, Richard Glossop packed his belongings in a box. And of the personal items that could fit in his death row cell, these were his treasured possessions, letters, cards, and most importantly, photos of his wife, Leah, which he'd carefully taken down off the wall. For the past few years, she'd been his lifeline, a source of strength and comfort, and his daily portal to the outside world. Over the phone, he kept her company as she drank her coffee in the morning, drove to and from her law school classes, and watched the evening news. And after the Oklahoma Pardon and Parole Board denied Glossop's clemency request last month, Leah was the person he turned to. He said, I called her the second I got back to my cell. I told the guards I need to get back there. Whenever things got really tough for me and I feel at my lowest point, I know that I can talk to Leah and that she can pick me up from that. Those are direct quotes. Now, they faced a dreaded ritual they'd already confronted multiple times, preparing for Glossop's transfer to Death Watch, one of the final stages of the state's death penalty protocol. Their last contact visit was scheduled for Friday, May 5th. One more chance to hug, one more chance to kiss, and one more chance to hold hands. Afterwards, Leah would take Glossop's belongings home while he prepared to be moved to a holding cell adjacent to the execution chamber. Leah arrived earlier than usual that day, around 9 a.m. She was accompanied by the legendary anti-death penalty activist Sister Helen Prigine, Glossop's spiritual advisor. 3 other high-profile advocates joined them, Republican state reps Kevin McDougal and Justin Humphrey, as well as GOP politico Justin Jackson. And with Glossop's May 18th execution date looming, the visit was more of a strategy session than a series of goodbyes, because nobody was ready to give up on him. And around noon, Sister Helen and the politicians decided to leave in order to give Leah and Glossop some privacy, or whatever passed for privacy in the crowded visiting room. But first, they had all stepped into the hallway to take some photos, a privilege not usually afforded to the men on death row, which the interim warden had arranged himself. In one photo, Leah stood in front of her husband wearing a wide smile, clasping his cupped hands in both of hers. And once back in the visiting room, it was harder to keep a brave face. As 3 p.m. approached, Glossop held Leah's hands tighter. He kept telling me, something could happen. And she said, we're going to get through it no matter what. But then, all of a sudden, the warden comes in and says, I need both of you. Come out to the hallway. The room went quiet. Since their visit was coming to an end, Leah assumed the warden just wanted to discuss handing over the box of property. Instead, he told them that the United States Supreme Court had just stayed Glossop's execution. And we just completely crumbled into each other's arms. And upon their return to the visiting room, they raised their arms up together and said, we got the stay. And the room erupted with cheers. The stay of execution was the latest twist in the seemingly never-ending saga that has seen Glossop come close to execution 9 different times. Just 1 month earlier, the state's attorney general, Genter Drummond, had asked the Oklahoma Court of Criminal Appeals to vacate Glossop's conviction entirely and death sentence, saying that he could no longer stand by the conviction. So why isn't this man released? But in a series after that of devastating blows, the court rejected Drummond's motion and said it saw no reason to stay Glossop's execution. By then, Glossop's lawyers had filed a petition for certioria with the U.S. Supreme Court, asking the justices to address misconduct in the case that had recently come to light. But it was only after the legal team filed the second petition, that's why you never quit, filed the second petition and a request for stay backed by the Attorney General himself. Remember, the AG are usually the people that put people in jail, that the High Court, which is the U.S. Supreme Court, intervened, blocking the execution while it considered whether to take the case. And 10, this story there on Van Treese's modest headstone, etched words memorialized the horrific centerpiece of this sordid saga, while also epitomizing the ethical void sustaining reasonable doubt. On it, it said, there are many questions, but no answers. Lastly, I will end up making this case into of a more polished story if you guys want to see this again, because there are other disturbing facts about what they've done to this man. And you can always go to, and I encourage you all right now to go to change.org to sign the petition to have him released. I think he would highly appreciate that. And at this point, I think he deserves it from everybody to just give him a little bit of help. All right, guys, that's the story. Crazy, right? Oh, wow, it's dark out here now. Sorry about that. Let me turn the light on. Got dark on me and freezing, by the way. So basically, yeah, I had to tell that story. I've been sitting on it for a couple months. I haven't told it because I didn't know the way I was going to tell it. And because it's kind of, it's a twist in the case and it's devastating. But it's the hard part for me is that this is true. You know what I mean? This is really true. That poor guy has been on death row 9 times. 9. And it's like you got the original prosecutor saying, nope, we were wrong, free him. You got the person that Justin Sneed, the person that literally put him behind bars by saying, oh, it was him who told me to do the murder. Even him saying that, no, yeah, he didn't do it, we were just friends. And then the daughter of Sneed and other people in Sneed's family asking to testify, and yet the court's not allowing them. What's up with that? This case just really irks me the wrong way. David said, I could have sworn they offed him. Yeah, a lot of people think that, but nope. I believe he's still alive. I mean, that's the other thing about this case. I just researched it the other day just to make sure nothing happened in the time since May. Because I wrote this probably about 6 months ago, right? And from what I saw, it's still a battle. It's still a battle where they're trying to get him released. But dude, I don't know what to do. Like if they're gonna put him on death row again, and what happens if he doesn't get to stay? You know what I mean? But let me read some of the comments now. Exactly, Keisha. How many people have been released and then just go out and commit crimes again? Yeah, and it's like, what's going on right now. I'm not going to get too political or whatever, but I watch all these crime channels and stuff. I even created one, which I'm not going to tell you the name of it until it becomes semi-successful. And by semi-successful, I mean at least has 100 people. But I watch these things, and it's like I'll watch 20 minutes of a video, and I'll be like, damn, they got him. All right. And then they bring him in, and then the very end, the last 10 seconds of the screenshot, it says, felony this, felony this, felony this. And then it says, they dropped all the felonies. He only got 2 misdemeanors, had to pay a $250 cash bail, and then he went to go and kill somebody else. It's like, what? We got to stop doing this, people. You know what I'm saying? That's really sad. I know it's really sad. The other is jail as hell. Much worse punishment than dying. Yeah, I agree, David. I've never really philosophically thought about the death penalty, but, we're not God, so I don't think we should be taking life regardless. You can help, Rachel. If you go to change.org and type in Richard Glossop's name, you can sign a petition to vacate his sentence. To just, once enough people have signed it, and I believe a ton of people have already signed it, but the more it continues and the more it goes on, the more ammo supposedly you kind of have for a judge saying, look, all these people get it. They've taken time out of their day to go to a website they never go to type in a name that they must have heard about from a crime show, and they've written their own names down to say they want this man out of jail. I mean, that's got to be some good ammunition, I would hope. Thank you, Rachel. I appreciate that. And thank you, Kim. You guys are awesome. What? David said I had a discussion with the guys, Real Mafia, 2 weeks ago, and Google said he was dead? Yeah, Google does say he's dead in a lot of mistaken articles, but, check a couple different articles. Because, I saw that too, and, I think they published an article of him being dead at least 3 or 4 times because he was supposed to be dead. You know what I mean? He was on death row the last day, ate his final meal. So they already printed out things of him being dead. But I'm 99% sure he's alive. Seriously, because there are multiple news sources out there that have said he died, but if you look, they're all old. Yeah, I probably will do a full version of this. Hey, we officially made it over an hour. Thank everybody that's been watching. just like media not checking facts. 100%. The media just writes stuff, and that's what I think happened. To be fair, I think he was about to get executed. As you see, it's happened 9 times. 3 of the times it's came up to the very minute, and so articles were probably already written, scheduled to release the next day, and then oh crap, he didn't die. Well, maybe they forgot to take it down. I don't know, but I definitely do know that when I was researching this, I got confused 10 times because I was like, wait, did he die here? Or did he die here? Or wait, he's still alive? And I was like, oh, that's crazy. But yes, I believe he's still alive. Thank you so much. Philip and Rachel, you guys are awesome. You're awesome from Dublin. How do you do the Dublin accent? That what do you say? We go to the no, I don't want to embarrass myself. How does Conor McGregor talk? I'm trying to think. We got to go to the club and I can't do it. It's like whenever I try to do British and all different things, I end up messing up and doing the next country over. Like, tea time. You and your buckets of clothes. It's time to throw them out, don't you think? I've had enough of this bumbly mumbly. What do you say? I say, y'all ain't fucking Irish at all. If you're Irish, you want to go to the pub, eh? You gotta go to the pub and get a beer. Want to go to the pub and get a beer? I don't know what I'm doing. Good try. Thank you, Kim. I know that hour went quick. Do you think X-Men are woke? You're awesome. You won't embarrass yourself. I'm about to come out with a new rap too, guys. I gotta let it go. I got so much of these stories written, especially short stories that I want to make into raps. I'm about to let a couple of them go. Thank you, Keisha. I appreciate that. Watch Irish Mike get that chapter. Yeah. Irish, yeah, try to study his. Yeah, I know. But yeah, I've been thinking about doing raps and stuff too, just maybe if it's even once a month or something like that, or I don't know. I don't think I'd put it on a new channel. I think I would just drop it on this channel. But I made that one that was off my phone. It was I got Pro Tools. I got the best stuff in the game, but I'm lazy with it. I'm always writing, but sometimes every day in my head I freestyle. It's just something I've been doing for 20 years. So sometimes I hear a story, I'm like, that would be a cool rap. So I might just do it. Just do it, Mike. Just like Nike. That's what I'm gonna do. I will. Rachel, Philip, all you guys, Kim, David, Keisha, thank you guys so much. I'm freezing my butt off. Beth, all of you, I love you all. And that'll be, I hope so. I hope you like it, Keisha. I'm really gonna try this time to actually make it rhyme way better, multiple syllables, Eminem type stuff, I always get accused of copying Ballin and copying Eminem, but if I grew up on Eminem and then I study the blueprint from Ballin, what do you expect me to do? You know what I'm saying? But I love you guys, and yeah, I'm gonna go warm up and literally put my hands near the fire in there because I'm cold. All right, I hope I know how to end this live stream. I love you guys. I'll see you soon. I'll see you on Friday also. I'll probably put a short out today. Love y'all. Mwah.